All right, so I made a pretty cool update here to the Polymarket agent this week, and I want to show you it. Essentially, what it does is it uses a swarm consensus. It looks at all of the big trades on Polymarket, and then it's looking at like 25 at a time right now. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but essentially, it then sends it to a swarm of AIs. So, like a bunch of different AI models, Claude, uh, TLM, Gemini, Queen, all these different models that we have inside of the GitHub. All of this code is in the GitHub. I'll show you where it is in a second. I just want to kind of explain the premise first. So on Polymarket, we're watching all of the big trades that go through. And then if it's a new one, if it's a unique trade, that's a big trade. Okay, we keep it in a CSV and then we send it when we have like 25 of them to the swarm of AIs, and they all make a decision on whether they should say yes or no on that Polymarket market. And then after that, since there's like five, you can actually make as many AIs as you want to have this consensus. But after they've all said, yes, no, or no trade, well, then there's a final AI that connects all of their answers to figure out what are the top five moves out of those top 25, essentially. So I've seen some pretty cool kind of guesses, I guess, or bets. And I feel like this is a very, very great way to discover new markets. Are they going to be able to trade perfectly? I question that. That being said, it's very hard to sort through Polymarket markets. There's too many of them. There's no search discovery. So in this agent swarm I built, essentially, it's always watching. It's waiting for somebody to trade over X amount. I think I have it set at $500. So if you trade over $500 on Polymarket, that market gets populated into our engine. Okay. Now we're watching it. We're sitting there. Once we get 25, okay, we send them off to the AIs, each individually. They give us their input of what they think, if we should say yes, no, or no trade at all. And then the consensus agent kind of gets all five together. And then it creates some CSVs, which is pretty nice. So we have like consensus picks. And I can just let this run as long as I want. And this is just like 8 hours of running yesterday and then a little bit today. And you can see it says like, okay, will Trump talk to Zohran in November? Or will Iran close the Strait of, or USD DPEG? And then it says, no, 5 out of 5 models agreed, 4 out of 4 models agreed. So it's a pretty great way to discover on Polymarket. It's probably one of the best ways I've found so far. Okay, and also it has a CSV of all of the predictions. So these are the predictions.csv. So all of the different AI's predictions. You can see like Claude prediction, OpenAI prediction, DeepSeek prediction, XAI prediction, etc. Then consensus. So some CSVs that just make it a lot easier to work around Polymarket, find some good ideas. And eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a bot here that I want to see if this works. I want to see if the bot, it just sits there and looks at the 5 consensus trades, puts a small trade in with their consensus. I want to see how it does, but I haven't gotten to that part. I wanted to get you this agent so you can execute your ideas that you may have. And again, this is all in the GitHub. So if you haven't read the README, check out the README, understand this a little bit, put a couple of videos here to walk you through it. That being said, all of this code is going to be in the SRC here and then in agents. And then if we scroll down to Polymarket agent, this is where all of that code is. So it's all right here. Now there's two different files that this is dependent on. And that first one is under models. You're going to need the model factory, but this just connects all of the different AI models, right? So connect to Claude, Grok, OpenRouter, XAI, Ollama, DeepSeek. So you'll be able to see in this code that it's dependent on that. That being said, all of this code is on GitHub. So you have full access to everything I have access to. The other thing that it is dependent on is this is pretty cool. And I think I've shown you this before, but the swarm agent, this allows you to import a swarm of AI into any different type of bot, agent sequence you have, etc. And this allows you to call. So like I use this, I import this in the file I'm about to show you of the Polymarket agent, and it calls DeepSeek, XAI, OpenRouter Queen, Claude, OpenRouter GLM, OpenRouter GPT-5 Mini, and then you can change these however you want. So imagine this as like the ultimate import file that whatever you want a consensus decision or a swarm of AIs to answer something. What is that something? I don't know. For this case, you know what it is now. It's looking at prediction markets, the last 25 markets of big sweeps and trying to make a decision, yes or no. That's what I'm using it for, but this is just the start, you know? I like to get you all this stuff as quickly as possible because I get you it sooner, then we'll all be ahead of everybody else. So those are the two files it's dependent on. And then you can see here the Polymarket agent. I'll go through it really quickly. It's not actually trading, it's just predicting and analyzing for now, and then outputting these CSVs that are super handy. Also prints out in the terminal. So you can see there's a couple filters I wanted to go over really quickly. Minimum trade size. I had this higher before. I think I had it at 5,000. I lowered it to 500 just to get a little more action, see more things. I ignore price thresholds that are too close to expiry, like or too close to decided by 2 cents here. Look back hours, 24 hours. You know, this is my bias and this might not be for you, but I ignore sports and crypto. I ignore crypto because I have plenty of algos for crypto specific markets. And I feel like this is a little more, if you've looked at their markets, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But like betting that the price is going to change every 15 minutes is interesting. Maybe you could use it for a different type of algo. That could be a useful feature, but they have, or a useful market. But they have markets on Polymarket that are like, is the price going to be over $100,000 in the next 15 minutes for BTC? Essentially, it's just using a lot of leverage. And like I said, I've got bots for like perp dexes. And then sports, the reason I ignore these is because I feel like a Lakers fan is going to bet on the Lakers, or a Warriors fan is going to bet on the Warriors. And it's a lot of emotional trades. So again, I could be completely wrong in ignoring both of these. So that's why I wanted to point them out here, because maybe you think the exact opposite, where it's like, oh, well, maybe they know something about the sports, or in this case, maybe those contracts on Polymarket that expire every 15 minutes, that could be an edge for one of your systems. So I wanted to make sure to clarify what's going on right here. Checking every 5 minutes or so. It analyzes 25 markets at once. So this could be too much, it could be too little. I thought 25 was a good place to start though. So send them 25 markets and say, hey, what are your top 5? Each of the AIs. You can see I am using the swarm configuration. You could turn this off, but I think it's cool with multiple inputs. As you know, like ChatGPT responds entirely different than Grok does. So these system prompts, this is where everybody will have their own edge and have their own ideas. And this is why it's kind of cool to have this open source, is because this prompt is going to determine how they really analyze things. And everybody here can approach this an entirely different way. So that's pretty cool. And again, all the codes in that MoonDev AI agents GitHub. You can see here, you don't really need to screenshot this or anything because you should have the link. And if you don't, just type in MoonDev AI agents on Google. It's under the SRC agents and then Polymarket agent. You can see this is the start of the agent here. We're using WebSockets on Polymarket. It's just easier, actually. I wasn't having a good time with the API for getting the recent trades, because what we're looking at the recent trades and kind of populating based off of that. And then you can see we're calling in the model factory here. So the model factory is where all the AIs are controlled from. I showed you that file a little bit earlier. And again, that's in source and then models. This loads the markets from our CSV. This loads predictions. It saves the markets, saves the predictions. So I'm using pandas throughout this. I'm always using pandas pretty much for everything. All CSVs. You can see we're ignoring some of the markets if they're just like too close to being decided here. Let's see what else is here. I put most of the parameters that are changeable at the top, so you can kind of explore this code. But I think it's important that we are all able to change those parameters because that's how we all come up with kind of different algorithms per se. And I just wanted to kind of show you through this. And if there's any questions here, I think this is a pretty good idea. And it's really nice to come back to this code or come back to my folder and just have a nice, concise list, that CSV I showed you, that I can just look at. And it's like, okay, these might not be perfect picks, but we asked 5-6 AIs, what do they think? And then got a consensus. So they could be cool. And on top of that, it's just hard to find good markets on Polymarket through the interface, just scrolling through. So I like to go from where somebody might have an edge that I don't know of. So I just look through the big trades, and then I'm able to sort everything out. So yeah, I'll just make sure this link is in the chat and the description below. You have everything that I have. This is definitely my favorite Polymarket agent I've built. One of the best tools in general, because being able to get your eyes on all of these markets at all times is super helpful. And this is, at the end of the day, I can just open up this CSV here and I can see all of their consensus picks. And there's you saw at the start, there's a lot of variables that you can adjust. So I'm sure you already have a few good ideas of variables you could adjust. Maybe you send in 10 different markets at the same time instead of 25, or maybe you change the prompt entirely and say, hey, look out for this or that. I don't want to trade sports markets, or I only want to trade sports markets. I don't know. It's an exciting market, Polymarket in general, simply because there's so many different uncorrelated markets that are not affected by our typical financial markets. So, stocks and crypto kind of run together. And I think there's some edge to be had here while these are still nascent markets. Not a lot of people here trading. I know they're getting bigger. But still, it's pretty interesting. So I'm going to continue to build for any market I see an opportunity in. And this is one of them. And these agents, it's a pretty good use case for these agents as well. Being able to get consensus ideas based off of kind of an inefficient market is kind of cool. Like I'm not a big believer in consensus trading of trying to trade a efficient market like Hyperliquid or something like that. I haven't seen great results with having AI spit out a price to trade to, or up or down or anything like that. But they look like they're doing a solid job with picking these markets. I don't know if it will be here for a long time. I don't know if it's not statistically proven yet by any means, but it's a pretty cool idea. So I wanted to get this to you here today. Again, you can just type in Moondev AI agents on Google, or I will make sure this link is below as well. And this is inside of the Polymarket agent.py. And the README should explain everything here on the main page about the whole package. You can go to SRC and then agents. And that is where the Polymarket agent is that I just went over right here, right now. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have some awesome ideas, and I can't wait to see what you build.